All right, now we're good. Now we're good. All right, so what's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name is Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana, coming to you live from Budapest, Hungary. Today is August 13th, 2024, about 8:17 p.m. where I'm at right now, and we're starting our fourth book in our Booked React series. I know some people might be thinking Simon only reads stuff he agrees with. Simon only reads things that affirm his beliefs. Simon doesn't read anything outside of his bubble. So, what I thought would be interesting for the fourth book on our march towards 10 books by the end of this year, maybe even more by the path we're going, by the momentum that we're gaining here, is that we're going to read something from the most wicked person to almost ever walk this earth. The most wicked person to ever hold office in the United States presidency, and that would be Donald Trump. And I'm going to do this as a favor to my right wing audience, my MAGA loving audience, my Trump dick sucking audience. This is going to be a gift for all of y'all as we walk through Trump's book. Now, this is a book that was written in 2015. I know Trump has a book coming out on September 6th, I believe, and it's the new book that he's going to publish to try to, be a part of his campaign for the presidency. But we're not certain that that book will come out, and if it does come out, I will try to review it. After this book, I will be reading Kamala's memoir. Then after that, we're going to jump to the vice presidents. So we're going to be reading Tim Wall's book if he has one. I haven't looked it up yet. And we're also going to be reading J.D. Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, or any other book that he has out there. Maybe even Project 2025, but I think that's 900 pages. That might be a bit much. But I wanted to read something for my audience here and also read something that will challenge me as well. The purpose of reading is not just to pat yourself on the back, to make yourself feel good, to affirm what you already believe. It is to challenge yourself. And I hope that that message will be out there for all of y'all as well as we delve into Trump's book, Crippled America: How to Make America Great Again. I do not encourage anybody to buy this book, but you can find it on Amazon, and I will always have the links to the books that you can find on Amazon. So yeah, anybody wants to know how to find it, you can get it for paperback only $5, hardcover $26, and audio CD $18.75. Well, you know them hillbilly rednecks, they love to read, they love to listen while they're driving their trucks, huh? Anyway, let's jump into this. One thing I got to say, though, Trump did not write this book because we all know Trump is probably very illiterate, probably has never even completed a book from beginning to end unless it's Mein Kampf. But I wanted to talk about the writer for this, the ghostwriter for this. This is a guy named David Fisher, right? So David Fisher has been writing for many years, and yes, this is the same David Fisher who wrote for Trump in September 2015 with then Republican President Trump on his campaign book, Crippled America, which immediately became a bestseller, right? And this guy, David Fisher, is a major Trump supporter. He's a very right guy. I found this other article where David Fisher, like, you can't call him a liar. I don't know if this is the same David Fisher, not exactly sure, but why not? Why not? Any guy named David Fisher probably is going to be MAGA, right? Let's just put it at that. Anyway, we're going to be jumping into this book here, reading it from beginning to end. It's about two this. And I titled this video, Communist Reads Donald Trump's book. I just got to say this. I'm going to sit here and to have class struggle to eventually overthrow the bourgeois who are ruling over us in the capitalist class as well. And yeah, I'm going to be reading Marx as well on this channel too. So y'all stay tuned for the Book React series. So let's go. Crippled America: How to Make America Great Again by Donald Trump. All right. So let's just jump on ahead. We're going to be reading the preface. Let's start here. Small text in a Trump book. I did not expect that. So you got to believe some readers may be wondering why the picture we used on the cover of this book is so angry and so mean looking. I had some beautiful pictures taken in which I had a big smile on my face. I looked happy. I looked content. I looked like a very nice person, which in theory I am. My family loved those pictures and wanted me to use one of them. The photographer did a great job, but I decided it wasn't appropriate. In this book, we're talking about Crippled America. That's a tough title. Unfortunately, there's very little that's nice about it, hence the picture on the cover. Okay, this is going to be a very easy read and possibly very funny as well. So I wanted a picture where I wasn't happy, a picture that reflected the anger and unhappiness that I feel rather than joy. There's nothing to be joyful about because we are not in a joyous situation right now. We're in a situation where we have to go back to work to make America great again. All of us. That's why I've written this book. People say that I have self confidence. Who knows? When I began speaking out, I was a realist. I knew the relentless and incompetent naysayers of the status quo would anxiously line up against me, and they have. The politicians who talk a great game in campaigns and play like total losers when they try to actually govern because they can't govern. They don't know how to govern. The lobbyists and special interests with their hands in our pockets on behalf of their clients or others. The members of the media who are so far lost when it comes to being fair that they have no concept of the difference between fact and opinion. The illegal immigrants who have taken jobs that should go to people here legally, while over 20% of Americans are currently unemployed or underemployed. Believe me, they're all over the place. I see them, I talk to them, I hug them, I hold them. They're all over the place. Congress, which has been deadlocked for years and virtually unable to deal with any of our most pressing domestic problems, or even the most basic ones, such as passing a budget. Think of it, a little thing like passing a budget. They don't even have a clue. Wasn't there government gridlock during Trump's administration? I I mean, wasn't there like a government shutdown, like the longest government shutdown in U.S. history because of his stupid border wall? Continuing here. Meanwhile, the bedrock of this country, the middle class, and those 45 million Americans stuck in poverty have seen their incomes decline over the past 20 years. Understandably, their disenchantment and frustration at what's happening grows every day, and it gets worse and worse. And even our lawyers and judges, the reflective, quote unquote, wise men who have been stepping all over the U.S. Constitution, the bulwark of our democracy, they have recklessly appointed themselves to be policymakers because our actual elected officials are paralyzed by partisanship. They can't move, they can't act, they are totally impotent. I gotta say this, the ghostwriter David Fisher just put a microphone to this man's mouth and just started typing away, because this is possibly like the easiest check anybody ever got. So I want you to write a book for me, David, and I want you to put all the messages that we're putting in there and make it beautiful, make it great. And David's just like, keep talking, and he just keeps on typing away. You could have literally done this with like voice to text, right? Because this sounds just like him. All right, anyway, continuing. As for the presidency and the executive branch, the incompetence is beyond belief. As I write this, Russian President Vladimir Putin is totally outmaneuvering our president by putting together a coalition in Syria that will make Putin the only effective leader in the world. He and his allies, most notably Iran, have positioned themselves exactly where President Obama and our military have failed miserably for years. They are total failures. They are not leaders. We are no longer a leader. Putin has become the leader, and it's an embarrassment to our country. We've wasted literally trillions of dollars in the Middle East with virtually nothing to show for it except for alienating our best ally, Israel. To make matters worse, we've negotiated a worthless and costly nuclear treaty with Iran, now Russia's best friend, on the supposition that it will lead to greater harmony and world peace, which it won't. It will lead to just the opposite. The idea of American greatness, of our country as the leader of the free and unfree world, has vanished. Despite all of these challenges, and actually because of these challenges, I decided to do something about it. I couldn't stand to see what was happening to our great country. This mess calls for leadership in the worst way. That's sort of indicative of his presidency. Leadership in the worst way. It's sort of like he's revealing himself. This is the beautiful thing about reading people's books. You know what I mean? They reveal themselves in the pages. This mess calls for leadership in the worst way. I couldn't agree with you more, Donald Trump. Anyway, it needs someone with common sense and business acumen, someone who can truly lead America back to what has made us great in the past. We need someone with a proven track record in business who understands greatness, someone who can rally us to the standard of excellence we once epitomized and explain what needs to be done. When I started speaking out, I had no idea what the reaction would be. I know I'm a great builder. I've built buildings all over the world. I've had tremendous success, but I hadn't fully exposed my political thoughts and ideas to restore America's greatness. I also knew that the Trump brand is one of the world's great icons of quality, and excellence. Everybody talks about it. Everybody knows about it. It's very special. What he really talks like this and supposedly writes like this. It's okay. I gotta stop laughing because I can't laugh through the entire book. I can't do it. Everybody talks about it. Everybody knows about it. It's very special. I'm very proud of it. Our buildings and resorts now stand very proudly and beautifully all over the United States and in many other countries. I started with the issue of illegal immigration and proposed building a major wall that would be very high and completely impervious to the flood of immigrants who don't want or need here. We don't want or need here illegally. We love people coming in, but not when it's done illegally. Suddenly, Americans started to wake up to what was going on with regard to illegal immigration. Despite the large numbers of candidates who were running for the Republican nomination, what I was saying started to really hit home with people. And everybody picked it up, and they picked it up gladly. I started drawing crowds so large that we had to move our rallies into football stadiums and convention centers. The first national debate drew 24 million viewers, which set a record for cable television. Despite some of the ridiculous antagonistic questions, or maybe because of them, I fought back as I always do and began to explain my vision. As a result, most people thought I won the debate. People were applauding. All of a sudden, people who had never cared about elections or never voted were rushing to our ally, to our rallies, not to our allies. All right, the rallies became massive. The crowds were unbelievable. The enthusiasm was based on pure love and love of what we were doing. The media, the politicians, and the so called leaders of our country reacted in horror, but I persevered and went directly to the people because I didn't need anyone's financial support, nor do I need anyone's approval of what I say or do. I just had to do the right thing. I had to do it. I had no choice. I see what's happening to our country. It's going to hell. I had to do it. I have now begun to fill in some of the details of my vision. I've released a tax plan that gives the middle class and those with lower incomes a chance to keep more of what they earn, while restructuring how the richest Americans will be paying taxes. I've committed to a truly more powerful military, one prepared and equipped to stand up to any and all of our foes. When we draw a line in the sand, it needs to mean something to all, especially our enemies. I've introduced a whole new approach to job creation by encouraging companies to bring more of the jobs in manufacturing back to America, home where it belongs, along with the trillions of dollars currently being held in foreign banks overseas. We're bringing that money back. It's a massive amount of money. And guess what? Lots of good things are going to happen. They're going to spend that money on roads, on bridges, on companies, on jobs. It's going to be amazing. It's so crazy to think like Republicans still believe in like trickle down economics, like the idea that if we just give the companies, major tax breaks or major incentives to have their businesses in America, somehow that's going to trickle down to them building roads, hospitals, and infrastructure. Isn't that the job of the government? Isn't that the job of the government to do things that inherently don't have a financial incentive? You can't charge everybody to drive on the road. You can't charge everybody to go to school. You can't charge everybody to go to the hospital. There should be some things in life that have no financial incentive. But in the minds of these capitalists and these, people like Trump, our rich overlords, everything has to be monetized to some degree. And corporatism will somehow save us. I've explained why Obamacare is a costly, ludicrous solution to our healthcare woes and one which must be repealed and replaced with a much better option. By the way, he didn't do that. He didn't do that to Obamacare while he was in office. So he basically, we're also looking back in time, right, and seeing like how none of his campaign promises actually came true, even with the Republican Senate, even with the Republican Congress. Pardon, that's what I meant. Continuing here. So I've explained why Obamacare is a costly, ludicrous solution to our healthcare woes. We need to fix the problem by creating competition in the private sector between insurance companies and by allowing patients to choose the family doctor they want. This will be a much better plan, a much less costly plan. Better doctors, better service. It will be something really special. And think of it, the United States will save a fortune as a country. People will be better served, a combination that cannot be beat. Competition is a magic word in education as well. Parents should have the right to choose the schools where their kids can get the best education. The weaker schools will be closed and ineffective teachers will be fired. One size fits all education. Common Core is bad. It's not going to happen. We don't want our children to be educated from Washington. We want local education. Education should be locally based. Why? Why? Shouldn't we have some things we all agree on as Americans? Don't we have states with failing schools like my state of Louisiana, Mississippi, Kentucky, Missouri? Don't we have states where the education system barely stays afloat? Don't we have states where the Republicans are banning books? So yeah, maybe we should have federal like mandate over education because the state's rights to educate our kids has resulted in a lot of stupid Americans. Continuing here, domestically, we need to undertake a massive rebuilding of our infrastructure. Too many bridges have become dangerous. Our roads are decaying and full of potholes, while traffic jams are costing millions and lost income for drivers who have jobs in congested cities. Public transit is overcrowded and unreliable, and our airports must be rebuilt. You go to countries like China and many others, and you look at the train systems and their public transport. It's so much better. We're like a third world country. Has Trump ever been to China, number one? And two, why does he keep on referring to America as a third world country? And Republicans love to eat that up. They love to just eat up this sort of victim mentality that they have. I swear to God, Republicans have a victim mentality. Conservatives, Trump himself has a victim mentality. We're a third world nation. Everything is bad. We're so oppressed. Like, get over yourselves and get over it. Continuing here. I could go on and on regarding many of the ideas I've written about in this book and more that will be forthcoming. But let me add that while my critics are pushing their policy agendas, the last thing we need are more plans that evaporate after the elections. What we need is leadership that can deal with our mess and begin to apply practical solutions to our problems. My goal is not to design hundreds of pages of government regulation and red tape like others' purpose. We need to outline common sense policies and then knock some heads together if necessary to make them work. The fact is, we are overregulated. People can't move. They're stymied. Companies can't be built. We're overregulated. It's sort of like hypnotism he's doing. Like he says something and then just repeats it over and over again, and then you're just like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess that's right. Anyway, I know how to deal with complex issues and how to bring together all the various elements necessary for success. I've done it for years and have built a company and a massive net worth. This book is designed to give the reader a better understanding of me and my ideas for our future. I'm a really nice guy, believe me. I pride myself on being a nice guy, but I'm also passionate and determined to make our country great again. It's time we turn America around from despair and anger to joy and accomplishment. It can happen, and it will happen. Our best days still lie ahead. There's so much untapped greatness in our country. We're rich in natural resources, and we're rich in human talent. Enjoy this book, and together, let's make America great again. Absolutely, absolutely. So Commando 21 jumped into the chat. Simon, when is Kamala going to have a press briefing or an interview? Why is she such a coward? I don't know. I don't know, and I don't care. We're over here to read Trump's book. So, guys, if you like hearing about Donald Trump, stay tuned because we're diving into his book, 2015's Crippled America, How to Make America Great Again. I don't know when Kamala's doing anything. I just know I want to smell her panties. Continuing, winning again. America needs to start winning again. Okay? As if we have lost anything, as if we're not the most richest, powerful nation that ever existed. Military bases all over the world. Continuing here. Nobody likes a loser and nobody likes to be bullied. Yet here we stand today, the greatest superpower on earth, and everyone is eating our lunch. That's not winning. We have a president who tries to get tough and draw a line in the sand. But when that line gets crossed, there are no repercussions. And when we try to negotiate with foreign countries, we don't stand up. We don't threaten to walk away. And more important, we don't walk away. We make concession after concession. That's not winning. If I ran my business that way, I'd fire myself. If you ran your businesses the way you run your businesses, they will fire you naturally, Trump, because every business you touch turns to poop. It turns to poop. I can't curse yet. But everything Trump has touched, his casinos, Trump Steaks, Trump University, his own books, right? While researching this book that Trump wrote, Trump tried to fake that he wrote a novel, and the other novelist, the ghostwriter who actually wrote the book, came out and said, no, this is my book, I need to get credit for it. And so they had to take Trump's name off of it. So yeah, everything he's touched has turned to garbage. So yeah, if I ran my businesses that way, I'd fire myself. Thank you. All right, continuing here. Take one of the worst agreements in our history, the nuclear treaty with Iran, which John Kerry negotiated and President Obama rammed through and around Congress. Or rather, he convinced his party to support it and filibuster any debate or vote on it. This is probably the most important treaty of our time, and our very stupid leaders in Washington, D.C. couldn't even bring themselves to hold a discussion and vote on it. Okay? Ronald Reagan said, trust but verify. But in this case, we aren't following either piece of advice. How can we trust a man like the Ayatollah Khamenei? Just a month before we approved the treaty, he reiterated that his country was pledged to destroy and eliminate Israel, our most important ally and longtime partner in preserving some semblance of stability in the region. Okay, first and foremost, the worst thing that Iran could have done was have the guy after Khomeini, after the guy who was the first Ayatollah. His name was very similar to the Khomeini, right? So this is the thing in the minds of like the old white Americans who would vote for Trump. They see Ayatollah Khomeini and their mind goes back to like the 1970s hostage crisis in Iran when a bunch of Americans were held there for like a year and a half or 2 years, something like that, right? That was the worst thing Iran could have done. They should have picked a guy like Ayatollah John Bowie, Ayatollah, Ayatollah Frank Matthews, like just some guy, like pick the, just to make Americans more at ease. Continue running the Islamic Republic however you want it, but don't make the next guy have the same name because it makes people think the first guy who Americans really don't like is still in charge, right? And second thing, right, the Iran nuclear deal was generally a good thing. Like Iran agreed to like decommission their nuclear power plants where they were probably enriching uranium to make a nuclear weapon, which they should have the right to do, honestly. If American can have nuclear weapons and threaten the entire world, why can't other countries who are looking down the barrel of American imperialism, have weapons as well? But I digress, right? I would rather demilitarization, denuclearization, but I would just say this, uh, you know, the thing is, the deal was actually good. And then Trump ripped it up to shreds. And now Iran still wants to destroy Israel. Iran still wants to, build nuclear weapons. And think about what the Iranian perspective on this is. America, by policy, pretty much swears to Israel that they will help them commit a genocide on the Palestinian people. How are the Iranians not supposed to take that as an affront as well? Those are people that look like them, share a religion with them, even though they are Shia and Sunni. It's like Protestant and Catholic, right? And they're in their region, in their territory. So how is Iran not supposed to say, you guys literally want to commit genocide on people that look like us, share our religion, and that we support? Why are you getting upset because we want to say we want to eliminate Israel? Right? I mean, why is it always just this one way of looking at things? You get what I'm saying? Continuing here. Continuing here, just a month before we approved the treaty, he reiterated that his country was pledged to destroy and eliminate Israel, our most important ally and longtime partner in preserving some semblance of stability in the region. Israel is not creating stability in the region, that's for sure. And as for verification, we don't even know what side deals the International Atomic Energy Agency has struck with Iran, or if we do know, they haven't been made public. All right. Mm. So that's not winning. That's criminal negligence, in my view. Then, when every Senate Republican criticized this deal, and some of the Democrats did as well, the president compared his critics to our adversaries. In other words, he sells out to his friends and allies and then defends his treaty by comparing his critics to our enemies. That's what we call successful diplomacy. Now we're going to open the gates to refugees from places like Syria, which is like extending a personal invitation to ISIS members to come live here and try to destroy our country from within. This is paranoid nonsense. Literally paranoid nonsense. Paranoid nonsense. The world was a safer place with the Iran nuclear deal until you destroyed it. Right? Continuing here. This is America today, the shining city on a hill, which other countries used to admire and try to be like. So what can be done about it? How do we start winning again? To start with, we need a government that is committed to winning and has experience in winning. This book is about how we do that. In early September 2015, I spoke at a major rally in Washington, D.C. I told them that we need a military that will be so strong that we won't have to use it. And then I asked, are you listening, President Obama? Almost everyone in the crowd cheered, but I understood why some of them were skeptical. Americans are used to hearing the same old promise from the same tired politicians who never produce any results, let alone any victories. I should know. For years, I gave money, lots of money, to candidates from both parties who made personal pleas for my support for their campaigns. They promised to change things with new ideas and bring governments back to its original, more limited purpose of protecting our country and putting our people first. Candidate after candidate made all kinds of pledges like this, and very little, if anything, was done. How many of those problems have been solved? Nothing seemed to move forward in Washington. Look at Congress, which has an understandably negative reputation among Americans. And why not? They do nothing. They can't even pass an annual budget. They constantly bicker, which means that they just throw all our problems and our huge debt onto our children and possibly our grandchildren. This has to stop. Finally, I realized that America doesn't need more all talk, no action politicians running things. It needs smart business people who understand how to manage. We don't need more political rhetoric. We need more common sense. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But if it is broke, let's stop talking about it and fix it. I know how to fix it. You broke it. You broke it. You got in office and broke it, Trump. We gave you a chance. We were rooting for you. We were all rooting for you, and you broke it. You broke it. Hundreds of thousands of Americans died under you due to COVID, right? That which was totally preventable. Obama left you the playbook on how to fight a pandemic, and you like tossed it in the trash. You broke the government, Trump. You broke America uh, um, in a way that can never make it whole again, especially after January 6th. Continuing here, a lot of people were encouraging me to speak out, and I realized that with all my well-known success story and record of building residential and office buildings and developing public spaces, all the while accumulating personal wealth, I could inspire people to help create the most massive turnaround in American history. Of course, there were doubters. Between journalists who sell newspapers by creating controversy and established politicians eager to preserve the status quo that in turn preserves their jobs, there were many experts predicting my demise. They've been reading the polls. They've been listening to all the lobbyists and special interests saying Trump is a threat to our well being. They've even been saying I was a bully or that I was prejudiced or that I hated women or hated Hispanics. Some of them even said, and this is the cardinal sin in politics, I was willing to take on even the richest people in America with all their tax benefits. I have proven everybody wrong. Everybody. But then you staff your administration with guys from Goldman Sachs. Okay, yeah, you're willing to take on the richest, most powerful corporations in America, but then you have an administration and you get bent over by BlackRock, right? What is happening here? Um, Suddenly, those same newspapers and experts were only talking about my ideas, and even as I've had to respond to some of the toughest and dumbest questions from supposedly nonpartisan journalists, people continue to listen to me and support my ideas. And guess what? Women are flocking to my message because they're just as tired as men are about how little is being accomplished in Washington. That is probably true, but it's definitely only white women. Probably only white women, because white women overwhelmingly voted for Trump that first time. Likewise, Hispanics are climbing on board because they've heard from Hispanic employees who've actually worked for me and know me as a boss and leader that Donald Trump builds businesses and also doesn't pay his workers. Also doesn't pay his contractors. Donald Trump builds buildings. Donald Trump develops magnificent golf courses. Donald Trump makes investments that create jobs. This is hypnotism. This is like straight up hypnotism. This is why MAGA just falls into the rabbit hole, because all he does is repeat the same talking points and push those like buttons in your mind. This isn't actual really policy. It's not policy. He's just saying everything is bad and I can fix it. America is great. America is great. America is great. And then just goes on another rant and then repeats the same things over again. Continuing here. And Donald Trump creates jobs for illegal immigrants and all Americans. Oh, wait, sorry. Donald Trump creates jobs for legal immigrants and all Americans. But he also did hire some illegal immigrants, so I've heard. Even the most jaded journalists are realizing that Donald Trump is for real and that the people are responding to someone who is completely different from every other politician. No one is paying me to say these things. I am paying my own way, and I am not beholden to any special interests and lobbyists. That's a lie, too. That's just a straight up lie. That's just a straight up lie. He got tons of money from lobbyists and tons of money from special interest groups. Tons of money. Okay. I'm not playing by the usual status quo rules. I'm not a politician taking polls to see what I should believe or be saying. I am telling it like it is and going to the heart of what I think will make America great again. I'm not a diplomat who wants everybody else to be happy. I'm a practical businessman who has learned that when you believe in something, you never stop, you never quit, and if you get knocked down, you climb right back up and keep fighting until you win. That's been my strategy all my life, and I've been very successful following it. Winning matters, being the best matters. I'm going to keep fighting for our country until our country is great again. Too many people think the American dream is dead, but we can bring it back bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. But we must start now. We need to ensure America starts winning once again. And that's the end of chapter one. That was one of the easiest reads I've had in a long time because we've been reading some hard books on here. But this is a breeze. This is a breeze. This is just like reading a speech or reading like a two-bit, you know, meditative, healer, like trying to just convince you to hate immigrants, right? Like he's just trying to like dangle that thing in your face. Pause. No diddy. You know what I mean? Like the pocket watch until you like fall asleep and then you wake up like a Nazi. Right. Continuing here, our unbiased political media. For a long time, I've been the man the media loves to hate. It hasn't taken me long to learn how truly dishonest the political media can be. At the first Republican debate, Fox journalist Megyn Kelly was clearly out to get me. And of course, at the second debate, virtually everyone was attacking me because most of their poll numbers were sinking while mine were surging. I'm perhaps a controversial person. I say what's on my mind. I don't wait to hear what a pollster has to say because I don't use pollsters. The media loves my candor. They know I'm not going to dodge or ignore their questions. I have no problem telling it like it is. These presidential debates would normally have attracted a couple million viewers, but the first night we had 24 million tune in, and the second debate drew a similar number. These were the largest audiences in Fox News's and CNN's history, bigger than the NBA Finals, the World Series, and most NFL telecasts. Why do you think people tuned in to hear the nasty questions, to watch a bunch of politicians trying to pretend they are outsiders like I truly am so they can be more successful? The fact is, I give people what they need and deserve to hear, exactly what they don't get from politicians. And that is the truth. Our country is a mess right now, and we don't have time to pretend otherwise. We don't have time to waste on being politically correct. You listen to the politicians, and it's as if they are speaking from a script titled, How Boring Can I Possibly Be? That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny, low key. Watching some of these people being interviewed is about as exciting as watching paint dry. They're so afraid of tripping on their own words, terrified that they're going to say something unscripted and go off message. That's the phrase they use, go off message, that they are verbally paralyzed. They'll do anything they can to avoid answering a question, and the media plays the game with them. The object of this game is to appear thoughtful while still looking like a regular guy or gal who would be fun to have a beer with. The pollsters tell them how to be everything to everybody without alienating anyone. The same politicians who boldly promise they are going to stand up to our enemies won't even give direct answers to reporters. I don't play that game because I'm a very successful businessman, and my mindset is that this country needs to bring itself back from the depths of all of our problems and the $19 trillion we owe. Trump talks like a sassy black woman, like from the 90s. I don't play that game. Like, what is he doing? Like, this is crazy. This is a very silly book. This is a very silly book. This is like a seventh grader, like Cartman running for like school president, like just writing screeds into his notepad until he like has a speech mangled together. At the first debate, I responded to Megyn Kelly's adversarial question by telling her, I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either. This country is in big trouble. We don't even win anymore. We lose to China. We lose to Mexico, both in trade and at the border. We lose to Russia and Iran and Saudi Arabia. I'm not bragging when I say that I'm a winner. I have experience in winning. That's what we call leadership. That means that people will follow me and be inspired by what I do. How do I know? I've been a leader my whole life. Thousands of my employees know that I'll deliver and help them deliver. Sometimes I can be self effacing, injecting a little humor, having some fun, and kidding around. We have a good time. What I say is what I say, and everybody knows me really appreciates it. With the problems we're facing, these debates have become Trump versus the others. The attacks are coming at me from all directions because they all know I am the only one talking about really changing this country and making America great again. The moderators read some quote of mine or misinterpret a quote of mine and then ask someone else to do two comments. Do I have the right temperament? Would I run the country like a business? When did I actually become a Republican? These exchanges make great TV. Sadly, they're almost like watching a sporting event. And guess what? Few, if any, of these questions get to the heart of what is wrong with our country and what really matters to Americans. It's all very personal because politicians and their journalist cronies know that the public doesn't want to hear the details of our nuclear sellout to Iran or what we're going to do about all the federal red ink bleeding the American taxpayer dry these days. The personal exchanges between me and the others become the big story of the debate and the focus of news coverage for weeks. You'd like to think that Fox News and CNN could do better. For the record, I think CNN and Fox treated me badly. Still, you'd think a major news network would take their responsibilities more seriously and use these debates to help the public determine who has the best plan to make our country great again. The only thing I like about Trump is that he is the ultimate cucker. Like he's the only one that can continually shit on Fox News, shit on Republicans, shit on conservatives to their face, and they continue to eat it up. Since 2015, even before he became president, he was shitting on Fox News, the right-wing media outlet, continually roasting them, continually harassing their own journalists. It's crazy. It's crazy to think about it. And Fox News gets up every day. The anchors, the journalists, the commentators on Fox News get up every single day and continue to suck Trump's dick. It's absolutely insane. That's the only thing I like about Trump. And the second thing I like about him is that he doesn't want to tax Social Security checks or tipped wages. And he also wants to talk to North Korea. So he has about four things that I can admire, right? So I want everybody to listen to this and know that I can be fair. This is why we read these books. This is why we read the news. This is why we stay informed, so that we are not just beholden to one side. Of course, we will have our opinions and our backgrounds and our interests at heart and at mind, but at the same time, we can acknowledge when there's a diamond in a pig's mouth. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, continuing here. But they missed that opportunity. The whole debate format has worked out fine for me. The American people are smart and figured out pretty quickly what the real motives are for turning up the personal attacks against me. And I get more minutes, more front page coverage, more requests for interviews than anyone else. And most important for America, the opportunity to speak directly to the people. There are many reporters whom I have a lot of respect for, especially in the financial media. When the financial journalists interview you, they know what they're doing and they ask direct questions. They can provide important information to their viewers. There's money at stake, and they don't play the same silly gotcha games as the political media do. They can't afford to. I don't mind being attacked. I use the media the way the media uses me, to attract attention. Once I have that attention, it's up to me to use it to get to my advantage. I learned a long time ago that if you're afraid to be outspoken, the media will write about you or beg you to come on their shows. If you do things a little differently, if you say outrageous things and fight back, they love you. So sometimes I make outrageous comments and give them what they want, viewers and readers, in order to make a point. So he just admitted he's a troll. He just admitted he's a troll. Now, can we take a troll seriously? Can we? All right, there's a place for trolling. Commando 21 in my chat is a troll, or a Russian bot, or just a really stupid MAGA Republican, whatever. But do we want trolls to be in the White House? We already went through that. We don't want this again. He just admitted, I say outrageous things to get attention. I say outrageous comments to get attention. Trolls don't belong in the White House. Trolls don't belong. Nobody wants to work with a troll. Would you hire a guy if you had a business who said, "Yeah, sometimes I just say outrageous stuff to get people's attention, just to get attention on myself"? That's crazy. That's psychotic behavior. That's psychotic behavior. Anyway, I'm a businessman with a brand to sell. When was the last time you saw a sign hanging outside a pizzeria claiming the fourth best pizza in the world? But now I'm using those talents, honed through years of tremendous success, to inspire people to think that our country can get better and be great again, and that we can turn things around. The cost of a full-page ad in the New York Times can be more than $100,000. But when they write a story about one of my deals, it doesn't cost me a cent. And I get more important publicity. I have a mutually profitable two-way relationship with the media. We give each other what we need. And now I am using that relationship to talk about the future of America. Many people believe I do well with the press. Maybe I do sometimes, but anyone who believes I can use the media is absolutely wrong. Nobody can use the press. It's too big, too widespread. For me, it has been absolutely necessary to try to build relationships with reporters. There are many journalists I respect. Some of the finest people I know are journalists. They are honest, decent, and hardworking. They bring honor to their profession. If I do something wrong or make a mistake, they report it accurately. I've got no problem with that. The mistake bothers me, not the reporting. All right. But there are a lot of other there are a lot of times I believe that the media is abusive, both to people like me and to the process. The key word is accurately. Like in every other profession, there are people who are not good. There is no question that considering all the press I've had, both good and bad, I've definitely met people at both the very top as well as the lowest end of the food chain. I mean, the very bottom. They are horrible human beings. They are dishonest. I've seen these so-called journalists flat out lie. I say that because incompetence doesn't begin to explain the inaccurate stories they have written. There is no other explanation. Trump, that's because you were talking to the writers of The Sun. You were talking to the writers of People magazine. You were a celebrity. You were a tabloid celebrity. So, of course, tabloid writers are just going to say whatever they can to get their pennies per word. Of course, they're going to lie. But the New York Times and the Washington Post and all the other media, and I know those medias are cut too. I know a lot. I know they're problematic as well. But I'll just say this. They've called you out on your lies and you have attacked them equally. His mind is warped. This is what your mind looks like when you've just been a celebrity for years. And this is why this is why we need less celebrities like in the office, like in public space, like trying to affect policy, trying to influence America, right? Because his mind has been warped to the idea that I can get a renewal on my season of The Apprentice if I say something crazy about, I don't know, Liza Minnelli, something like that. You get what I'm saying? Anyway, continuing here. The image I created through the media enabled me to build one of the greatest luxury brands in the world. People buy my apartments, buy my label, and play on my golf courses because they know if I put my name on it, it has to be top quality. Why do you think NBC gave me my own show, The Apprentice? They did it because I set myself apart to be a target, the big, tough employer. The result was one of the most successful shows in television history. I'm the only boss in the world who boosts a person's future status by firing them. Sometimes the truth hurts, but sometimes that is the only way to get better. And a lot of the viewers told me that by watching my show, they learned how to be more effective in their jobs so they wouldn't get fired. I don't mind criticism. People call me thin skinned, but I have thick skin. I have a wonderful and beautiful wife. I've got billions of dollars. My children are highly intelligent and accomplished executives who work with me. I've got a pile of potentially huge projects sitting on my desk. I can't walk into a room or down the street without people racing toward me and telling me that they are excited for our country to win again. So criticism doesn't bother me and it can't hurt me. I've had power and I've had profits, but now it's time to help the people have a voice and to make sure the people are heard. I'm doing this to make our country great again. Not too long. That was just a silly ass paragraph. It's so hard for me to read this shit. Jesus Christ, this is torture. This is funny torture. This is tickle torture. This is literal tickle torture reading Donald Trump's book. Like, seriously, like imagine the mug. Like he has a crazy mug on his face on this book and seriously started to write, I have a beautiful wife, I have billions of dollars, people love me, I got the biggest dick in the world. Like what type of human writes this sort of stuff about himself? This is Kanye to the max. But it's even worse. It's Kanye, but he's a fascist. Like, it's insane. Well, Kanye became a fascist, right? Continuing here. All right. Not too long ago, a lot of the pundits kept asking me if I was serious. I thought they were asking the wrong question. What they should have been asking was if I was serious about the future of our country. I have never been more serious about anything in my life. Is the quest for ratings every show is trying to make news. Sorry, in the quest for ratings, every show is trying to make news. The problem is that they aren't doing their job. They aren't interested in informing the public. Instead, they play their own game, the quote unquote gotcha game. As I've said, some of the political media are very dishonest. They don't care about printing the truth. They don't want to repeat my entire remarks, and they don't want to be bothered explaining what I meant. They know what I said, they know what I meant, and they edit it or interpret it to have a different meaning. I was reminded of this behavior when I announced that I was running for president on June 16th in New York. I spoke at great length about a lot of different topics. I listed a lot of the problems we were facing: illegal immigration, underemployment, a shrinking gross domestic product, an aging nuclear arsenal, and Islamic terrorism. I went through them all. What did the media focus on? They concentrated on the fact that I said Mexico was sending its worst people over our southern border. They're sending people that have lots of problems, I said, and they're bringing those problems to us. But the way you said it, Trump, you demonize them. Some of them, I assume, are good people. When you say that the vast majority of the women and children that are crossing the border are criminals, thugs, rapists, drug dealers, then you say some of them are good people. That's crazy. That's like if I said, it's like if you said, black people are gangsters, thugs, criminals, basketball players, and some of them, I assume, are smart. That's wild. That's a wild comment. Continuing here. The next thing you heard was that Trump said all immigrants were criminals. That wasn't what I said at all, but it made a better story for the media. It gave them some headlines. What I said was that among the illegal immigrants coming from Mexico were some pretty bad people. Some of them are rapists. Some of them are drug dealers. Some of them are coming here to live off the system. And we better take immediate and tough measures to close our borders to illegals. People who know me, no, I would never insult Hispanics or any group of people. I've done business with many Hispanics. I've lived in New York all my life. I know how wonderful the Latino culture can be. I know the contributions they make to our country. I've employed many hardworking Hispanic people through the years. I have great respect for Hispanic people, but that's not what the media reported. Here's what the media reported. Trump calls all immigrants criminals, and Trump calls all Mexicans rapists. Completely ridiculous. One of the problems the political media has with me is that I'm not afraid of them. Others run around practically begging for attention. I don't. People respond to my ideas. These media types sell more magazines when my face is on the cover, or when I bring a bigger audience to their television show than they normally attract, and by far. And what's funny is that it turns out the best way for them to get that attention is to criticize me. But the American people are beginning to understand that. They have finally figured out that a lot of the political media aren't trying to give the people a fair representation of the important issues. Instead, they are trying to manipulate the people and the election in favor of the candidates they want to see elected. These media companies are owned by billionaires. These are smart people who know which candidates are going to be best for them, and they find a way to support the person they want. It would be impossible for me to even estimate how many times I've been interviewed by how many reporters. I couldn't even tell you how many magazine covers I've been on. Recently, I was interviewed by conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt. Best interview in America, he called me. Here's what happened. During the show, he started asking me a series of questions about an Iranian general and various terrorist leaders. I'm looking for the next commander in chief to know who Hassan Nasrallah is and Zawahiri and Al Julani and Al Baghdadi. Do you know the players without a scorecard yet? What a ridiculous question. I don't think knowing the names of each terrorist leader more than a year before the election is a test of whether someone is qualified. You're not playing Trivial Pursuit. Every question Hugh asked me was like that, although I noticed he didn't ask too many questions about our economic policy or about reforming the tax system, things I've spent my life mastering. Instead, he asked these quote unquote gotcha questions that prove nothing except that he was able to read some names and pronounce them correctly. Does anybody believe George W. Bush and Barack Obama could name the leaders of all terrorist organizations? Not that they are the standard. I would say, of course, Obama could, because Obama was a Muslim. I'm joking. I'm joking. No, Obama was not a Muslim, but I'm pretty sure Obama could because he's well read. Pretty sure Bush could because he seemed to have like a rabid hatred for Arabs for how he did Iraq and Afghanistan. So he probably played darts with their pictures, right? But is it necessary to know the names of all of them? No, but some of them are, like Hassan Nasrallah, like even me. I know that he is the leader of, oh man, the group in Lebanon. The group in Lebanon that's like a paramilitary group. Oh man, it's not Fatah. because Fatah is like in the West Bank, like they're the democratic arm of like the Palestinian resistance. Hezbollah, yeah. Hassan Nasrallah is the leader of Hezbollah in Lebanon, right? Zawahiri, if I remember right, Zawahiri was the founder of ISIS, right? Or Zawahiri was the Egyptian cleric who was like best friends with Osama bin Laden and also like one of the founding leaders of Al Qaeda, right? Just general knowledge. Al Baghdadi is the leader of ISIS. There we go. Al Baghdadi is the leader of ISIS, right? So some of general knowledge, right? Like you could learn this if you just watch, the news for a few days. You just watch 5 days of the news. But this is the thing: Trump watches the news all the time, but he just watches himself on TV. That's the thing. Continuing here. People see through this nonsense. We have real problems, and I'm talking about how to fix them. And the media continues to play these old games. In the end, though, Hugh Hewitt was just fine and has since said some great things about me. Every question was gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. I gave Hugh Hewitt the best possible answer. These people probably won't even be there in a year. I should have added that if America doesn't do the right things, we won't be help much longer either. Let me tell you something. When I need to know something, I know it. When I decided to build the most magnificent golf resort in the world in Aberdeen, Scotland, I didn't know the names of the Scottish officials who would be involved in this project. But by the time we went to work, I knew every person it was necessary to know. I'd probably met most of them too. At the beginning of any kind of project, I know what I need to know, and then I get the information to make sure the project gets done to my satisfaction. And I have strong executives who know how to, as their title suggests, execute. So here's the way I work. I find the people who are the best in the world at what needs to be done. When I hire them to do it, and then I let them do it. But I always watch over them. We have great military leaders in this country. We produce the finest officers and soldiers anywhere in the world. And we have some really smart men and women working in our intelligence community. These people spend all day, every day working on serious problems. These professionals are the real experts. They know all the players. So Trump likes the deep state because that's deep state he's describing. The military professionals, different from the civilian part of our government, these are people who are career, military people, right? Like, so now you like the deep state. I mean, you're giving fascists, Trump. You're giving fascists. It's giving fash. All right. So one reason that I have been successful in business is that I hire the best people. I pay them well, and I keep them working for me. There are times when I meet someone working on the other side of the deal. Maybe they don't beat me, but they give me a tough time. I respect that. In fact, I respect that so much that sometimes I hire them away from the company they are negotiating for. Truthfully, though, I can't really blame them. Truthfully, though, I can't really blame Hugh Hewitt for doing what he did. Just like Megyn Kelly, he figured out that the best way to get attention is to attack Donald Trump. This guy got more headlines from our little exchange than he probably ever got in his whole career. It wasn't the name of terrorist leaders that he cared about, it was his own name, and it worked for him. It's just the same old game where the people come last. That needs to change too. Begging for attention really sums up the problem we face in this country with our media. There is such competition that they're more interested in entertaining their audience than educating them. They like me because I help them attract more views. They hate me because they know I don't need them. I think you need them because a person that says, I get a lot of views, I get a lot of views, you come across like somebody who needs that validation. I learned a long time ago how to talk directly to the people who matter, to regular Americans who are fed up with the career politicians. That's probably you, the real Americans, which is why I've written this book through a ghostwriter who I probably didn't pay, and he had to sue me to get his check. All right. Probably the last chapter we'll read today. We're blowing through this book. It's only 169 pages. I want to get a good chunk done. So we're going to read chapter 3 of Trump's book here, Crippled America, How to Make America Great Again. All right. Immigration, good walls make good neighbors. Said who? Said who? Okay, do the bombs that we send to Latin America make us good neighbors? Does it work that way? We kill their leaders, we kill their presidents, we depose their officials, like how we're trying to do with Maduro right now, or how we did with Allende in the past, and then we build a wall when people are running for safety. Is that how it works? Okay, that's what a good neighbor does. We shoot your husband, and then we put a big ass fence up so the police can't come arrest us, or so people can't run to safety. We burn down all the houses in the neighborhood, and then we put that big ass wall up so people can't run for shelter. I see how it is. Good neighbors. America, the best neighbor that you have. Anyway, let's continue reading what Trump said. When I announced my candidacy, I spoke for almost an hour, covering just about every challenge that we're facing. But the subject that got the most attention was my focus on our immigration policy, or in fact, our lack of any coherent immigration policy. I was pretty tough on illegal immigrants, and a lot of people didn't like that. I said that many countries are dumping their worst people on our border and that it has to stop. A country that doesn't control its borders can't survive, especially with what's going on right now. What I said only makes common sense. I speak to Border Patrol guards, and they tell us who we're letting across our borders. The countries south of us are not sending us their best people. The bad people are coming from places other than just Mexico. They're coming from all over Central and South America, and they're coming probably from the Middle East. Let me add now, allowing tens of thousands of Syrian refugees in the door will certainly bring a lot of problems, but we won't know how bad because we have no protection and we have no competency. We don't know what's happening. It's got to stop, and it's got to stop quickly. Later in my announcement, I added, I would build a great wall, and nobody builds better walls than me. Believe me, and I'll build it very inexpensively. I will build a great wall on our southern border, and I will have Mexico pay for that wall. Mark my words. Just like I paid for Melania's coochie rejuvenation surgery. I built a great wall in there, and since I've built it back up, she has not had it knocked down. The wall in Melania's coochie is airtight. Airtight. Continuing here. I spoke for quite a while that day. I covered just about all the problems our country is facing. But what did the media report about that speech? Trump is anti immigration. Trump calls immigrants rapists. Trump is starting a war with Mexico. You want to know why we aren't solving our problems? Why nothing changes? It's because we're not facing the problems and taking action. The flow of illegal immigrants into this country is one of the most serious problems we face. It's killing us. But until I made that point during my speech, nobody was talking about it honestly. And instead of saying Trump's right and we better do something to stop illegal immigration right now, we're going to lose our country, they said. Oh, what a terrible thing Trump said about the nice people who live south of our borders. I hope they don't get upset at us because of that. Maybe he'll apologize. I understand why that happened. It's a lot easier to criticize me for being blunt than it is to actually admit this immigration situation is a dangerous problem and then to find a way to deal with it. Let me state this clearly. I am not against immigration. My mother immigrated to this country from Scotland in 1918 and married my father, whose parents had come here from Germany in 1885. My parents were two of the best people who ever lived, and it was millions of people like them who made this country so wonderful and so successful. I love immigration. Immigrants come to this country, they want to work hard, be successful, raise their kids, and share in the American dream. It's a beautiful story. I can close my eyes and just imagine what my relatives must have been thinking when they sailed past the Statue of Liberty into New York and their new lives. And if they could only see the results of their risk and sacrifice, how can anyone not appreciate the courage it took for these people to leave their families and come here? What I don't love is the concept of illegal immigration. But by and large, the way the whites showed up in America, the Germans at that time and the Scots at that time, it is no different than the way the Mexicans, the Guatemalans, the El Salvadorians are showing up. Sure, the laws are different. If you're going to make the argument it should be based on laws, that's one thing. But the thing is, at that time in America, the law said that only white people of good stock are able to enter America. You could literally just hop on a boat, and if you were white, they would let you in and literally give you land, give you a job, give you all sorts of benefits, right? That's crazy. But when it's now brown people crossing the border, when it's possibly Syrians crossing the border, now let's close that thing, right? Uh, but his mother showed up no different than how some Guatemalan floating on a raft or a Cuban landing on the shores of Miami showed up. She literally just jumped off of the boat, right? No papers. Continuing here. It's not fair to everyone else, including people who have been waiting online for years to come into our country legally. And the flood of illegal immigrants coming across our borders has become a dangerous problem. We don't protect our borders. We don't know who's here, but I bet wherever they came from knows that they are gone. We don't know who's here, but I bet wherever they came from knows that they are gone. Yet those governments do nothing to help us. The estimate is that there are 11 million illegal immigrants in America, but the fact is that nobody knows how many there really are. We have no way of tracking them. What we do know is that some of those immigrants are a source of real crime. In 2011, the Government Accountability Office reported that there were 3 million arrests that could be attributed to the incarcerated alien population, including tens of thousands of violent criminals. There were 351,000 criminal illegal aliens in our prisons. That number does not include the crime of crossing our borders. It's not a crime. It's not a crime to cross the border. Technically, it is not a crime. You can make it a crime, but it's a civil offense, right? It's not a crime. There were 351 criminal illegal aliens in our prisons. That number does not include the crime of crossing our borders. It costs us more than $1 billion a year just to keep these people in prison. I understand that the vast majority of these people are honest, decent, hardworking people who came here to improve their own lives and their children's lives. America holds so much promise, and what honest person wouldn't want to come here to try to make a better life for himself and his children? It sounds like he's contradicting himself. Sounds like he's contradicting himself because a few pages earlier he was saying that a lot of the people are coming are drug dealers, criminals, thugs, all that sort of stuff. Now he's saying the vast majority of these people are honest. So I'm confused. Which one is it? Can he make up his mind? Okay. But illegal immigration is a problem that must be confronted by the United States government, who in turn must confront other countries. I feel as sorry for these individuals as anyone else does. Conditions in some of their countries are deplorable. Nonetheless, illegal immigration has to stop. A country that can't protect its borders isn't a country. We are the only country in the world whose immigration system places the needs of other nations ahead of our own. There is a word to describe people who do that: fools. I have great respect for the people of Mexico. The people have tremendous spirit. I've been involved in deals with Mexican businessmen, but those businessmen aren't the people the Mexican government is sending to us. Too many people have forgotten that Mariel boat lift. In 1980, Fidel Castro told the Cuban people that anyone who wanted to leave Cuba was free to do so. President Carter opened our borders to anyone who came here, except Castro was too smart for him. He emptied Cuba's prisons and insane asylums and sent his biggest problems here. He got rid of the worst people in that country, and we were left to deal with them. More than 125,000 Cubans came here, and despite there being many, many great ones, some were criminals or had mental problems. More than 30 years later, we're still dealing with that. Does anybody really believe that the Mexican government, for that matter, all the governments in South and Central America didn't get that message? The Mexican government has published pamphlets explaining how to illegally emigrate to the United States. Where's the proof for any of this? This is the thing. He's just saying stuff. There's no sources cited. No sources cited. And this is the chance to actually make a cogent argument because it's in a book, right? And let's keep it real. Most Americans don't read. Even his own stupid ass followers don't read. They're just going to buy the book to support the campaign. So this is actually a pressing time to actually cite your sources for this. But he's just saying shit. This is literally just saying shit. The Mexican government published pamphlets telling Mexicans how to illegally emigrate into America. That could be twisted so many ways. They could have passed out pamphlets that said, this is how people do it, and please do not do it, because that it's a great way to get into danger. That's what it could have been, but he's twisting it. Maybe. And I don't know, because it's probably not even true. He's literally saying shit. And it's worse that it's in a book. It's worse that it's in a book, because this was actually the time to have footnotes, citations, all of this stuff, right? And we were ready to actually learn something. But he's literally just doing a campaign speech on paper. The Mexican government has published pamphlets explaining how to illegally emigrate to the United States, which makes my point. This is not about a few individuals seeking a better life. This is about foreign governments behaving badly and our own career politicians and leaders not doing their jobs. And who can blame these foreign governments? It's a great way for those governments to get rid of their worst people without paying any price for their bad behavior. Instead of putting these bad people in their prisons, they send them to us. And the bad guys are bringing the drug business and other criminal activity with them. Some of them are rapists, as a matter of fact, and as we have now seen in San Francisco, some of them are killers. The man who got shot and killed a beautiful young woman had been pushed out of Mexico 5 times. He should have been in jail there, but instead they sent him here. That the price we're paying for illegal immigration is enormous. It has to stop. The first thing we need to do is secure our southern border, and we need to do it now. We have to stop that flood, and the best way to do that is to build a wall. People say you can't do it. How do you build a wall across the whole border? Believe me, it can be done. He had 4 years to do it. He had 4 years to do it, and he didn't do it. The wall was never built. This is the thing. Once again, this book was written. This book was written before his administration. So this is also a look into, some of the issues that still affect us now, but it's also a time capsule, at least, to how his mind was working then and how his campaign was going and what he was promising. And we're seeing that a lot of his promises that he was making in the campaign did not come true, as we saw in his administration. Continuing here. Nobody can build a wall like me. I will build a great wall on our southern border. It doesn't have to cover the entire border. Some areas are already secured with physical barriers. In other areas, the terrain is too difficult for people to cross. It's probably about 1,000 miles we need to secure with the new wall. There are people who say it can't be done, that it's not possible to build a wall 1,000 miles long. Except beginning more than 2,000 years ago, the Chinese built a wall that eventually stretched almost 13,000 miles that could never be breached. It was breached. The Mongols just went around the Great Wall of China. This is a lie. This is a lie. The Great Wall of China was a failure too. It was just a passion project of the emperor. He's just making up shit, literally making up stuff. It's crazy. I need to stop cursing before YouTube demonetizes this video, but this is absolutely insane. He's just saying stuff. All right. It was a combination of massive walls, impassable trenches and ditches, and rugged natural terrain, as well as an estimated 25,000 watchtowers. Believe me, our wall building technology has improved a lot in 2,000 years. What we don't have that the Chinese had is the commitment to do it. They understood the danger of leaving their border unprotected, and they did something about it. We talk about it and do nothing. Walls work. The Israelis spent $2 million per kilometer to build a wall, which has been hugely successful in stopping terrorists from getting into the country. Ironically, some of the same people who claim we shouldn't build this wall cite the success of Israel's wall. While obviously we don't face the same level of terrorist threat as our closest Middle East ally, there is no question about the value of a wall in the fight against terrorism. Many people don't know that even Mexico has built its own wall on its southern border to keep out illegal immigrants. It wouldn't even be that difficult. We already have a model. Yuma, Arizona, for example, built 3 walls separated by a 75-yard no man's land that allows border agents to patrol within the area with their vehicles. They installed cameras, radio communications, radar, and a great lighting system. After it was built, the 120-mile long stretch known as the Yuma sector saw an incredible 72% decrease in the number of people apprehended trying to get into this country illegally, and mine will be much better. Construction of the wall needs to start as soon as possible, and Mexico has to pay for it. Let me repeat that. One way or another, Mexico will pay for it. It didn't. It didn't. Mexico didn't. It didn't. All right. How? We could increase the various border fees we charge. We could increase the fees on temporary visas. We could even impound remittance payments derived from illegal wages. Foreign governments could tell their embassies to start helping. Otherwise, they risk troubled relations with America. If necessary, we could pay for the wall through a tariff or cut foreign aid to Mexico, or simply make it clear to the Mexican government that it is to the benefit of their very profitable, for them, relationship with the United States to pay for it. But one way or another, they are going to pay for it. I don't mind putting a big, beautiful door in that wall so people can come in and out legally. That wall will be a good start, but by itself, it won't be enough. Without the wall, however, everything else is more of the same old big talk we hear from the politicians. We've been trying to get this problem under control for more than 75 years. We tried a lot of different solutions, and the result is that now illegal immigration is worse than ever. One of the solutions that did show promise was President Eisenhower's attempt to deal with illegal immigration on our southern border, which had become known as the truly terribly named Operation Wetback. You know, Trump loves to say Operation Wetback. Why doesn't he say that more? But even with that awful name, the program was successful. It was a joint effort between the INS and the Mexican government. Special immigration teams were created to quickly process and deport illegal immigrants. One of the reasons it worked is that people who were caught were given to Mexican government agents who moved them into central Mexico, where they could find jobs. In the first year, more than 1 million people were sent back. What we need is that comprehensive program. I have outlined that will enable us to get our immigration system under control. It starts with enforcing the existing laws. A country either has laws or it doesn't. But having laws that we don't enforce makes no sense to me. And in addition to keeping bad people from coming in, we've got to get the criminals out. When you break our laws, you get thrown out. It's simple. Why should we absorb the expense of keeping criminals in prison? Let their countries of origin deal with the problem they sent us. If they refuse to take them back, we can stop issuing visas to those countries, preventing their citizens from legally visiting the United States. I also would triple the number of immigration officers we currently employ until the wall is built. We are asking these people to do a job that would be difficult even if they had all the support they need, and they don't. Think of it this way. Currently, there are about 5,000 officers attempting to enforce the existing immigration laws against the more than 11 million illegal aliens. Compare that to the 10,000 members of the Los Angeles Police Department or the 35,000 officers in the New York Police Department. Since 9/11, we have tripled the size of the Border Patrol, but haven't substantially increased the number of ICE officers, the officers who enforce immigration laws. The career politicians love to talk about having a nationwide e-verify system, so potential employers will be able to determine who is here legally and eligible for work and who isn't. Certainly, this will help protect the jobs of unemployed Americans. But let's not kid ourselves. Our leaders must lead on this and engage with foreign governments to stop illegal immigration and not simply impose something on our businesses and think that some internet verification system alone will solve the problem. I kind of like the idea of an e-verify. Why not? Why not? But I know who doesn't like it. The billionaire donors who own businesses like slaughterhouses all across America or paper making factories who do hire illegal immigrants, but they support the Republican Party and they actually depend on illegal immigrants to work there. Right. So they're not going to like it. I like the idea. Why not? E-verify, make sure, everybody who is working in America, every company has to, put that in the system and verify that those are actually citizens or that they have green cards. Sure. Why not? Why not? Sure. All right. We have to cut off federal grants to sanctuary cities, those places that refuse to cooperate with federal law enforcement and actually abet criminal behavior. We have to end them. I repeat, we either are a nation of laws or we're not. We also need to do what is necessary to enforce our visa regulations. People get a visa and come here legally, and then when that visa expires, many stay here illegally. If they get caught, nothing happens to them. That's got to change. We need to have real penalties for people who overstay their visas. I am sick and tired of hearing politicians who are all talk and no action. President Obama and his people are great at sending letters and press releases, but they never seem to have any consequences for foreign governments that don't listen to them. Most important is ending our curtailing so-called birthright citizenship or anchor babies. American citizenship is an extraordinary gift. Its value over a lifetime can't be measured. So the fact that the 14th Amendment has been interpreted to mean that any child born in the United States automatically is an American citizen and that baby can be used as an anchor to keep his family here is the single biggest magnet attracting illegal immigrants. Yeah, very sensitive about birthright citizenship. That's tied to our Black American heritage, fighting for our rights as citizens when the white supremacists didn't want us to be citizens after slavery. No, don't take away birthright citizenship. You know, if you're lucky enough to land on American soil, if you think you're lucky, if that's luck to you, right? Why not allow your children to have your luck? I guess. Continuing here. So the 14th Amendment was never intended to be used that way. The original purpose of the 14th Amendment, which was ratified in 1868 following the Civil War, was to guarantee all rights granted to citizens in the Constitution to freed slaves. No serious historian could possibly interpret any of the supporting language in the congressional record that the birthright citizenship was intended for anyone other than the freed slaves. It wasn't until 1898 that the Supreme Court ruled that, with certain specific exceptions, the provisions of of the 14th Amendment granted citizenship to the children of those lawfully here who gave birth on American soil. By a huge margin, Americans want to change that policy. Even Democrat Harry Reid admitted that no sane country would grant citizenship to the children of illegal immigrants. It's estimated that about 300,000 of these children are born here annually. That's 300,000 children who are entitled to all the rights and privileges granted to American citizens because their mothers entered this country illegally by walking over the border for a day in the South or by flying in from another country under fraudulent documentation. There are businesses that specialize in making this happen. They call it birth tourism. Pregnant foreign women travel to this country just so that they can give birth here to babies who then automatically become American citizens. Citizenship is not a gift we can afford to keep giving away. And I will find a legal way of stopping this policy. A lot of really smart people and lawyers believe the 14th Amendment was never intended to create a whole new path to citizenship. We're going to test it every possible way. We will win in court and we will win in Congress. I'm not surprised he wasn't able to get this through in his first term, but I do believe if he does win in November, this will be something he will try, among other things, which are heinous. So I don't want to stop legal immigration to this country. In fact, I would like to reform and increase immigration in some important ways. Our current immigration laws are upside down. They make it tough on the people we need to have here and easy for the people we don't want here. This country is a magnet for many of the smartest, hardest working people born in other countries, yet we make it difficult for these bright people who follow the laws to settle here. It's amazing that people who come here to earn a master's degree and who demonstrate wonderful skills are forced to wait on a very long line when they want to stay and contribute to this country. In fact, criminal though, or an unskilled worker, or someone escaping criminal charges in another country, you are able to sneak into our country and in many cases get some benefits and never leave. These enforcement policies and their backward approach to immigration have to change. Our immigration policy needs to work to make America great again. My immigration policy is actually pretty simple. We need to make changes to our laws to make it easier for those people who can contribute to this country to come here legally while making it impossible for criminal elements and other people to get here illegally. I want good people to come here from all over the world, but I want them to do so legally. We can expedite the process, we can reward achievement and excellence, but we have to respect the legal process. And those people who take advantage of the system and come here illegally should never enjoy the benefits of being a resident or citizen of this nation. So I am against any path to citizenship for undocumented workers or anyone else who is in this country illegally. They should and need to go home and get in line. And you know who agrees with me? The Mexicans, the Chinese, and all the people from other countries who want to be here legally and can't get a visa or fit into a quota, yet see millions of people living here illegally. They don't understand how we can undermine our own interests. If you have laws that you don't enforce, then you don't have laws. This leads to lawlessness. We can be generous and do all of this humanely, but the security and prosperity of American citizens has to come first. Our country, our people, and our laws have to be top priority. Okay, so once again, no statistics or proof to show that illegal immigrants are actually the ones committing the most crime, killing many Americans. He brought up one story about one illegal migrant who came into America 5 times and then murdered one American citizen. But the vast majority of American citizens are murdered by other Americans of their same background, of their same ethnic group, of their same race, of their same income, right? The people that are doing the most harm in America are not the immigrants, right? And sure, if you want to try to stop illegal immigration, fine. But don't also at the same time try to dog whistle that you want more people from Norway or Sweden and then criminalize people who showed up just like your parents, Trump. Anyway, this has been part one of reading Trump's book, Crippled America, How to Make America Great Again. I do not encourage anybody to buy this book on Amazon, but you can find it. The link is in the description. And we're probably going to finish up this book this week because this has been quite a easy read. We finished 3 chapters in one sitting, so that was cool. I got to stop now because I got English class to get to. I got to get back to work. But I hope y'all enjoy this book. This is a gift to my right-wing audience, all the fascists, the Nazis out there, everything like that. And yeah, going to continue trying to challenge myself with the text as well. So yeah, let's close this poll. Hold on, wait. I want to close the poll. See what the poll said. Can I end the poll? No, I can't. Oh, no. Anyway, let me read the poll results. Did you know that 100% of MAGA doesn't read books? It says, hold on, wait. I can end it now. Hold on, wait. I can end it. All right, let's put this in the chat. All right, did you know that 100% of MAGA doesn't read books? Simon, duh, they're neckbeards, 66%. Not surprised, Black MAGA doesn't too, 33%. Of course, they're obsessed with girl cock, 0%. Why God did Tom Crooks miss, 0%. Thanks for the entertainment, man. Greetings from Germany. Shout out to Joseph, and tune in next time. Y'all be easy out there. Peace.